Hello, everybody. So, we are going live again today for yet again another incredible interview with a new friend of mine, actually. And I've brought her here today to share her amazing words of wisdom with you all. So, you need to stay tuned in because this lady is incredible at what she does, and she's got so much that many people can take away from this episode today. So I really look forward to going deep on this episode and sharing her incredible words with everybody that's going to be here today. So let's invite her up and we'll get the live started. Here we go. Adriana,
Hey Ryan.
how are you, my friend?
Good, how are you?
I'm amazing, thank you. I'm really, really good. And it's a pleasure to have you here today. I really can't wait to share your incredible words with the audience here today. Like I just mentioned, we've connected recently because obviously we're in the same coaching group. And I mean, I listened to you share your story and I thought to myself, like, I need to invite this incredible lady over to my page here and share her words with my audience because not only for myself, but I believe many others can take so much away from your personal journey and what you do regarding business as well now. It's insane. Like when I heard you speaking for the first time, I thought, you know what? I actually went through this myself without even realizing. So, yeah, I hope some other people can listen today and maybe become aware of potential challenges that they're going through in their lives. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to chat with you about this. And that's not awesome that you realized you went through it because like no one should go through narcissistic abuse, but at least, my page kind of brought you some clarity.
Yeah, no, for sure. Your page and just your words in general. So no, it's an absolute pleasure. So Adriana, let's get started. So what I want to know to begin with is just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do. Talk to us about growing up through childhood, teenage years, early adulthood, some of the challenges that you faced along the way, and then what you had to do in order to get you to the place where you are today.
Oh man, how much time do we have? So I'll try to close notes it as much as I can. So hi everyone, my name's Adriana Bucci. I'm based out of Toronto, Canada. And I was raised by a narcissistic mother. My childhood was shit. I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all. It was like pretty terrible. I was bullied both, at school and by my mother. She kind of like brainwashed me to be against my father. So I was like terrified of him for my whole life. So many lies about him that I later found out were not true. And yeah, pretty much like teenage years were terrible as well. I was like always anxious, always had anxiety. I had no idea that, the way my mother was treating me was not normal. Because, you just chalk it up to like, this is just how people are, because it just becomes so normalized in childhood. And yeah, pretty much where do I go from here? Adulthood was interesting. I kept dating narcissists, and that is pretty much how I ended up finding out that my mother was a narcissist as well. So it was pretty much like after a breakup from like a very brief relationship with a narcissist. It was like a 3-monther, nothing like too crazy serious. But like it was the most confusing relationship of my life, and I went down the Google rabbit hole, found out what a narcissist actually meant, and realized I had a little pattern of dating narcissistic men because almost all of my exes were narcissists as well. So I was just like, holy shit. And then further down that rabbit hole, I found out like, I found like this article, it was like 10 years ago, but it was like 10 signs that your mother's a narcissist. So it was just like, holy shit, existential crisis, all the things. And then I got chronic pain. It started in 2015 until 2019, and I knew my mother was a narcissist. I didn't think this was like a form of trauma or anything like that, because like when you hear the word trauma, you think like something catastrophic, like physically happening. And so pretty much I had this terrible chronic pain that started from like a botched wisdom tooth extraction. And I know this sounds so random on like, what does this have to do with anything? But it has everything to do with this. Because pretty much I then ended up with like TMJ dysfunction. So like my jaw was like misaligned. I started getting migraines. I had neck pain. I got carpal tunnel. I had surgery on one hand. And then I was doing like this jaw treatment and I got shingles in my mouth at the ripe old age of 30. Like, yeah, like that's just not supposed to happen. And it was literally like the worst pain I ever felt in my life. And I ended up with something called trigeminal neuralgia, which was the trigeminal nerve, which was affected by the mouth shingles. And it's nicknamed the suicide disease because that is how painful it is. And so I basically told my husband straight up, like, I'm going to try to give you another 10 years before you're probably going to have to call yourself a widower because fuck this. Like, this is way too painful. If I'm only 30 and I'm in this much pain already, like, I don't want to know. Like, I don't want to know what aging is going to be like because this is fucked up. And then I found something called the Mind Body Connection just randomly, January 2019. And I was offended by the concept. It was the theory that any physical chronic pain that persists for longer than 6 months, whether or not it's from an injury, it's no longer about that injury anymore. It's actually your body trying to tell you something. It's an accumulation of repressed emotions from childhood trauma. And I was so offended by this concept at first. And then obviously I was still in pain. So I was like, fuck it, I have nothing to lose. Let me just try to do this stupid inner work. But I don't have repressed emotions. I'm not an emotional person. Like that was my mentality about it. And then obviously it worked. I started, performing an emotional exorcism on myself, so to speak. And I got better. No more chronic pain. It's been like 4.5 years, and that's pretty much what made me decide to be a coach. Because at first I started off as a pain coach because I was like, holy crap, the mind body connection is real. Like I was at the point where like I wanted to die from this, and now I can actually do stuff and like live my life and all that stuff. And so I started Let's Get Your Shift Together, and then I started like opening up a bit more about like my childhood, being raised by a narcissistic mother. And, that's sort of history speaking for itself because anyone who's been through narcissistic abuse has some sort of chronic pain, anyways, or like a mystery symptom. And so, yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Wow, Adriana, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your words there with us today. And yeah, you've obviously been through a lot of trauma throughout your years, from childhood up until now. And like you mentioned, some of the things that cropped up. So you just mentioned there, actually, I heard you say people that have gone through, say, narcissistic abuse usually have things show up in their lives as different pain in different areas of their body. So could you briefly talk to us a little bit more about that, if it's okay?
Totally, yeah. So pretty much, the body keeps the score, as they say. And like when you're being narcissistically abused, you are pretty much being coerced into repressing your emotions because you have to in order to keep yourself safe from the narcissist. And so if you have a narcissistic parent, it's of course even worse because you're learning at such a young age that you have to keep those emotions repressed in order to survive your parent. And basically, the way the kid brain works is that you have an emotion, as children do, for whatever reason. And Frankie, sorry, I have this monster here. And, the emotion is there and you express it because you're a child. And then there's your parent who's disapproving of the emotion. So this can happen with like well-meaning parents as well, who, they just say like, oh, don't cry. You don't have to cry about this. It's not a big deal. It's okay. But obviously with a narcissistic parent, it's like, it's way worse because they'll say like, I'll give you something to cry about. You're so ugly when you cry. Big girls don't cry. Like you're an idiot. You're way too sensitive. You're overreacting, all this kind of stuff. And that kind of puts this message into the child brain that like, if I have this emotion, this pisses off my parent. If I piss my parent off, they're not going to love me anymore. If they don't love me anymore, I'm going to die. And so it creates this unconscious belief that if I have this emotion, I am going to literally pass away. And so you start repressing those emotions and kind of like holding them in so that don't die. And give it a couple of decades, where do those emotions go? They go absolutely nowhere. They stay stuck in the body. And they manifest as like physical symptoms or pain or things like that, like things where like you've been to your doctor, they've done the tests, they've determined that like there's nothing, like you're not dying, there's nothing like nefarious going on where like it could literally cause you to die or whatever. And Yeah, that's pretty much the mind body connection in action there. And so once you start actually getting in touch with those emotions and feeling them and allowing yourself to, you know, creating a sense of safety with your nervous system, that like it is safe to have this emotion. I'm not going to die if I have this emotion, and that like it's actually going to be okay. And then eventually you start releasing them, and then you get out of pain. I hope that answered your question. I rambled a bit there.
No, it's absolutely brilliant. And, like, I believe that emotions are the reporters for the soul.
Yeah,
Like, unexpressed emotions will never die, and they are buried and will come forth later in much uglier ways. Like they come up when we're least expecting it, whether it's in a physical symptom on our body, whether it's stressed out, pain, stress, anger, for instance. And I've had it myself, and I'm sure you've had it yourself too, and many people watching also. But you mentioned there's something again that stood out to me, Adriana, was say potential parents saying things to you like, "I'll give you something to cry about." My dad used to say that to us kids all the time, like, "I'll give you something to cry about." So I want to ask you then, when does it come to a point where, say, a potential parent, partner, friend, family member, etc., could be labelled as a narcissist? Like, obviously, it's not just like if someone says something once, they're a narcissist, right? But when would it get to a point? Like, when's that? Do you know what I'm trying to explain here? Like,
yeah.
I wonder if you could explain it a bit more to me and the viewers.
Totally, totally. So like every person has narcissistic traits, doesn't matter how you slice it. Like it is what it is. It's just the intention behind those traits that will differentiate whether someone's like a full-blown narc or just a normal person who has traits or like gets stressed out every now and again. And so with a narcissist, there's a pattern. There's a very obvious pattern that you don't see when you're in the bubble because you're in the bubble. So, obviously hindsight is 2020, but there is that pattern of love bomb, devalue, discard. So the love bombing, it really depends on the context of the relationship. So if it's like a significant other, there's going to be like those grand gestures at the very beginning of the relationship. They're going to be overly flattery. You have so much in common, almost too much in common. They seem too good to be true, kind of thing. There's all this excitement, all these like wild adventures you go on, all that kind of stuff. And then the devaluation starts to happen as soon as they're satisfied that they've gained your trust, because they have to love bomb you in order to hook you in. Because if they were the pieces of shit that they were from the get-go, you would never even bother like getting to know this person, because you would already know immediately like, no, not worth it, this person sucks, like that's it. And so they have to put on this fake persona in order to hook you in order to get you reacting to their antics. And then as soon as they're satisfied that they've gained your trust, that's when the devaluation starts. So it'll be like, small insults at first. Like it's very subtle at first. It's not necessarily obvious. It eventually gets worse and worse. And then there's the discard. The discard may or may not happen right away. It just, they usually waffle through love bomb, devalue. But sometimes the discard can be like very subtle. So a lot of people think the discard is like when they just completely stop talking to you forever. That can be the case, and sometimes they come back like 7 years later or whatever. But sometimes it can just be like they're giving you the silent treatment for 5 minutes, and then they're acting as if absolutely nothing happened, which would be love bombing again. And so with a parent, it's a lot trickier because they don't have to go through that initial grand gesture in order to like woo you, in order to have a relationship with them, because you're just there, right? Like you don't have a choice. You don't get to choose your parents. And so they don't really necessarily have to love bomb you, but they will if they sense you like pulling back. But their love bombing looks different because it'll be like they finally give you recognition for something that, like, a talent of yours that they never recognized before, or something that they told you, like a hobby or whatever, that they said you were wasting your time, and now they're like recognizing it and like giving you praise for it. Or you're gonna finally go on that family vacation, or they're gonna change, or they're going to take care of the grandkids, or whatever it may be. And then of course the exact same pattern happens again, like the devaluation. So it's like they'll do something to try to trigger you into an emotional reaction. Like that is That is their entire goal, to trigger you into having an emotional reaction. And that's what they feed off of. It makes no sense when you're a normal person who is wired normally and has empathy. And, you know, because it really goes beyond all logic and empathy that like anyone would treat people this way. So it's like really hard to kind of make sense out of it. But like that's the thing. You need to stop making sense out of it and just really accept that like, no, there is that pattern, and all they want from you is that emotional reaction. So, you know, if you're not sure if someone in your life is a narcissist, stop giving them emotional reactions, see if they have a little temper tantrum about it, or like try harder and harder to get an emotional reaction out of you, and then you'll know.
Wow. I just want to say, like, when you were speaking then, it just spoke straight to my soul, and I'm sure many people that will listen as well may feel the same because, like, for me, that relationship that I was in previously that come to an end after 6.5 years, every single thing that you just said there, I noticed now looking back from, say, an educated set of eyes or a more mature set of eyes. I see all of those things that happened in that relationship, the love bombing. Like never knew any of these words before I heard you speak before. So like every single thing, whether they give you a little bit, oh, they praise you for something almost, and then they take it back, and then they say, yeah, do this, no, you shouldn't have done that, and it's like give take. It's a constant battle, you know. And I went through many months of mental misery, and if not years, to be fair, in the end, just being bombarded every day and mentally abused. Now looking back, it was literally abuse of the mind, and that was actually so much worse than actual physical abuse. I would have rather my girlfriend just beat the shit out of me every day because
Honestly.
it would have been it would have been a lot better for me, you know. So, and you mentioned something earlier. You said about being in the jar. There's a quote, and it says, "You can't read the label from inside the jar." So, anyone that is potentially going through this at the moment, being say abused mentally by a family member or a friend, and they're actually in the shit at the moment. They're in the jar and they can't see a way out. They just maybe have accepted it as the norm, you know, because that's what I done. I thought, oh, this is normal. Like when you're in a relationship, you always argue, you always get told off by your girlfriend. This happens, that happens. Like I just believed all this shit to be true. When now looking back, it's really not true, and I should have just got out of that relationship a long time before. So for anyone that's listening to this or who will listen to this, and they might say resonate with a few things that you said, what is the best ways? Like I know you just said a few things there, but what is the best ways for someone to actually realise that they are being mentally abused and they need to really consider taking steps to remove themselves from those relationships, from those situations, and to get away from these people? Like, what is the best thing that someone can do?
Yeah, like just recognizing that it's happening. If you're ever feeling like doubting yourself, which is very common, right? Like it might be like a norm that like you always doubt yourself. But if this person's literally making you doubt yourself, if you're feeling like you're walking on eggshells all the time, if you're Googling behavior, you're probably dealing with a narcissist, and you have to really understand that like these people do not get better. They do not change. There is no amount of love that you can throw at them that is going to make them want to, you know, actually change for you or anything like that. You're literally wasting your time. And you know, like just get out as soon as possible, right? Like just do not pass go, do not proceed, do not continue. Obviously, like things can get tricky if like you share children with the narcissist, because then you've got to figure out custody and all like the whole legal system and all that kind of shit. But if you don't have like children tying you to this person, if you don't have any legal obligations, like cut and run. It's going to suck at first because you're going to feel like that trauma bond, and you're going to feel like you're nothing without that person. But like that's the thing, you have to really prioritize your relationship with yourself, because that is the most important relationship you'll ever have in this life, because you know you're with you from the moment you're born till the moment you die. That is all you've got. And you know, other people are a bonus, but if they're abusing you, that's not a bonus whatsoever. So it's better to like really be on your own than to be surrounded by people who are on a mission to destroy you. And you know, you really have to prioritize yourself and really recognize that like this is my only shot at life here, and time is the only resource that I'm not going to get back. And you really have to sort of take on that mindset in order to, you know, have that motivation to get the fuck out, because like all you can look forward to if you decide to stay is the exact same pattern playing out over and over and over again. And, you know, once the seed has been planted, it will get to a point where like it's getting old and, you know, I can't take this anymore. And then, you know, hopefully you have a safe exit plan, and always prioritize your safety because, you know, you never know how unhinged any given narcissist can be. Not saying they all commit murder and stuff like that, but you know, like you just really need to be careful sometimes, because that can be like the most dangerous part of the relationship is when you're like trying to actually leave. So, you know, come up with a safe exit plan and get the fuck out as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, very, very powerful words there. And, you know, like you said, you mentioned there about the word love. And again, from my own experience, I remember looking back, like for me, I just used to say, like, I love her. I love her. You know, love is never enough in anything in life. Like we think, oh, because we love someone or we think we love someone, that that's it. We should be with them forever, even if they treat us like a piece of shit, or even if we know that those warning signals are there and we're avoiding the warning signals. Like we're just turning a blind eye to all these warning signals. Maybe friends around you are saying, "Is this normal?" Or should they be saying this to you? Or should they be acting this way? Or how do you feel about the situation? And you know, deep down inside, like in your own mind, in your own body, your soul is telling you the answers, but you're choosing to ignore it. But because you think that you love that person, you decide to stay put. So for me, going back all those years now, looking back, it was like, oh, I loved her. We had a house together. We went on all these holidays with each other. In society's eyes, we were living this perfect life that really wasn't perfect. And I began to convince myself that every year would get better. Like I remember it get like another year would go by, and I'd be like, oh, yeah, it'll be better next year. It'll be better next year. And I said this for years, literally a handful of years at least. You know, um, like a prime example, sex life. As soon as we moved out and bought our own house, the sex life just went completely downhill. And we barely like we'd just be arguing constantly, like every day almost. It felt like every single day, just arguing over completely nothing, which I never understood at the time. So anyone that's listening, Adriana, and they think that they love their partner and they're staying in a relationship just because they love them, but they know deep down that they feel a bit shit quite often. Their partner doesn't really treat them right. I'm not saying like they're physically being beaten up by their partner, but maybe like little snidey words or horrible words now and again. Things being said to him like, "Oh, look at you, like you're fat or you're ugly," or just like jokey things, you know, like jokey things when they're not really jokes. If people notice that about, say, their potential partners or even family members, for instance, what could be some sort of advice or tips you could do to not only notice these, but then to sort of deal with these things as well?
Yeah, so first of all, you have to recognize you don't actually love this person. You love the person they presented to you in the love bombing stages because that's what hooked you in. And, you know, you have to just get out as soon as you can. That's honestly like the best advice. Obviously, it's easier said than done, right? Because there's so many factors. There's so many ways that they trap you. There's so many like loopholes that they go through in order to kind of really trap you into that relationship, all these obligations and like the sense of obligation and all that kind of stuff. What was the second part of your question? Sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry. It was just about, say, people having the awareness, so, being aware of these things, like noticing them, and then what could they do? Like, I know you said like to get out, for instance, but I know even for me, for many times, like but you just mentioned it there, literally, like they make you feel obliged to stay in a relationship. I remember my ex saying, like, "You'll never find another me. Like, I'm the best thing that's ever happened to you." And I started to convince myself she was correct. I was thinking, "I'll never find a girl like as good as her. I'm so lucky to have her. Oh my god, like she'd just say shit about me, and literally to my face. I'd be like, nah." I love her and like she's way too good for me. Like that was another thing I kept saying. She's way too good for me. But now looking back, fuck me, I was way too good for her. So
Exactly.
things like that. Like, what can people do to not only notice, but then to actually trust themselves? You know, because for me, it took a lot of trust to do it. But then it only happened until rock bottom, till she cheated on me. Was the time that I obviously had to go my own way. But if it wasn't for walking into that restaurant to see her sat with another guy, I probably would have still been in that same position, being mentally abused on a daily basis right now. So I know you said that people need to have the awareness, and then they need to make the decision to leave. But some people say they don't feel that they can do it straight away, as much as they can. And yeah, it's possible. Of course, it's possible. But certain things, whether it's family members, whether it's children, whether it's a home, for instance, like I had, whether it's some sort of attachment or commitment with that person, what is like some of the easiest steps to start breaking away or start to removing themselves or getting away from these type of
Yeah.
people?
Yeah, so yeah, like you don't have to wait to hit rock bottom before leaving, like because you're just going to be wasting a lot of time. But if it gets to that point, some people need to wait till they hit that rock bottom. And so in order to sort of the only real boundary that you need to set with the narcissist is to stop giving them supply. And that is stop giving them your emotional reaction. That may look like no contact for some people, where you just completely cut off contact, you're dead to each other, you don't have any communication, and there's no reason to, get in touch with each other whatsoever. But obviously, that's quite the jump from being in an enmeshed shit show mess with this person. So you can start off with gray rocking, the gray rock method. So that is pretty much where you take on the personality of a gray rock and you be extremely boring, channel your inner brick wall, and just give like one word answers. Don't give any emotions to them in your responses. And like literally, like they will try harder to get an emotional reaction out of you because that is what it's all about. And so when you start gray rocking, like you might think it's not working because they're trying harder, but they're trying harder because it's working. And it just goes to show that this person feels so entitled to getting supply from you that they're not going to let it go without a fight. So you have to expect the expected from this person. You have to expect all of the tactics that a narcissist could possibly throw at you in order to entice you into giving them an emotional reaction. And so this is why it's so vital to do your own emotional work. Even if you're still enmeshed with the narcissist, starting to focus on your emotions and processing them so they're not repressed is going to help you to release them so you can be in a more, like level-headed state of mind when you have to deal with this person. And you can look at the situation objectively and say to yourself, like, okay, this person's literally just trying to trigger me. They're just saying this random thing about like one of my vulnerabilities or trying to put me down or, saying this one thing that I've been begging them to say this entire time, and now they choose to say it. It is literally all one giant manipulation tactic, anything that they're saying to you. So you really have to put it into perspective and not give them those reactions. And then, of course, if that, just start getting your affairs in order if you're still living together. Speak to a lawyer if you have to. Just do things like the right way. They're going to say things that are not true. So you have to really take whatever they're saying with like the biggest grain of ever. And unless you're served actual like papers that you have to show up in court or something, like you can just, you know, chalk it up to they're just saying shit in order to make me feel intimidated or whatever. And yeah, like just really keep things as realistic as possible. Write down a list of every reason why you want to leave this person, whether it's a significant other, a family member, whoever, so that, because you're gonna gaslight yourself. You're gonna second guess everything about your choice to leave. And that's part of the conditioning. That's part of the brainwashing that they subconsciously do to you in order to keep you around for as long as possible, producing supply for them. So your main goal is to just really stop giving them that supply, stop giving them those reactions, stop acting like affected by the shit that they're saying. And obviously you probably are affected by it because they have studied you and they know what is going to get you like set off into an emotional reaction. So this is why it's so important to do your own inner work, work on yourself, master your own emotions so that you will be unfuckwithable, so to speak.
Yeah, again, like such powerful words there. And what stood out for me was like the ammunition, like when you say, for instance, about they're just giving you stuff, supply. And for me, it always reminded me, now looking back to my old relationship, it reminds me of like the donkey or the horse with the carrot dangling in front of their head. And that was me. Like my ex used to just give me the bait, and I used to bite every time. Like she was just begging me to react. And at the time, like, I had I never worked to myself at the time. So I just bit every single time she'd say, you done this or this happened. And I just, and every time I couldn't help myself but bite back. But she thrived off that. Like she loved it, you know. So many people, I'm sure, are listening to this and feel the same. So I want to say then, I want to go back to the very beginning because I heard you say something at the very, very beginning, which was about your mother, how she wanted to turn you against your dad.
Mhm.
So the questions I have, Adriana, here, if you don't mind sharing, is like, was your mum and dad together? Were they split up? Like, what was the reason for your mum to turn you against your dad, or is that due to being a narcissist? Like, could you tell us some more about that?
Yeah, I'm actually a pawn baby. So I basically exist because I'm a manipulation tactic that she tried to use against my father. And then inevitably they got divorced, and they were going through a divorce for as early as I can remember. Like I just remember traveling to Italy, going to court with them because they were like fighting over a house, like just all this nonsense that like I was just in the middle of. And yeah, she pretty much like just told me all of these terrible things about my dad. She said that like he never wanted me. He decided that he didn't want to be with her anymore because of me. So I literally believe that I caused the divorce. She also said that he didn't pay for child support, and he wants her to go to jail and all this kind of stuff. So like I'm like 5 years old, so I'm obviously eating this all up and believing it. And so she would just tell me all these horrible things about him. And I was so scared of him for like pretty much my entire life, up until 2016, 2015-ish, actually, where I was like in my late-ish 20s. And I had like no real communication with him just because I was so terrified of him. And then that was when I learned he did actually pay for child support, and that he actually did have custody of me. But if because my mother like brainwashed me so much, I would always say like, no, I don't want to see him, like absolutely not. And then so he still would have been able to see me, but he would have had to like get the police involved. And he figured I was already so traumatized by everything that she put me through that he didn't want to show up with police, and then my mom say that like he's an even worse person because he needs police supervision to see me. So it was just like a whole thing. But he did try. He really did try. I do remember him like mailing me gifts for my birthday, and then she would say like something terrible about it, like, see, he doesn't even know anything about you, he got you this stupid gift, like just all these stupid little things. Even when I was like bullied at school, I was bullied for my appearance, and then she would say that like it's because I inherited these ugly genes from my father. So just pretty much anything and everything to put me against him. It worked for like a couple decades for sure. But then, of course, I started learning about narcissistic mothers, and I realized, like, oh, maybe my father's not like this big scary monster after all. And so I ended up having a conversation with him when I was like 27, and existential crisis then followed.
Wow, such an amazing journey and story that you had, and such challenges that you've been through. But obviously, you come out the other side, and now you're sharing your incredible words with the world, which is absolutely insane. Like, it's amazing what you're doing. Like I've taken a lot away from just this live that we're doing here today, and I'm sure many others have as well. So I want to talk about the 5 quick questions that I usually go with through people. So if you're happy, I'm going to start unloading the questions, and some of them we can maybe dive a little bit deeper also. So the first question is always, what is the best piece of advice have you ever received, and why?
Do the inner work because you have to. Like you absolutely have to. Like you can put it off and put it off and put it off, but like your body's going to start shutting down, like in my case, right? So like you have to start doing the inner work. I know it's triggering, I know it's hard, but like you're going to be okay. And it's you've been through the trauma already, and you will totally get through the healing. So it's everything's going to be okay.
Amazing. So for people, I see people commenting here already as well. So for anyone that is, say, potentially about to start the inner work or looking for ideas on how to begin, you mentioned like the inner work. Some people might think, what is the inner work? So what are the best sort of first steps that someone can begin the process, to start to do the inner
For
work?
Sure. So, first of all, you have to recognize what an emotion is. We tend to think that emotions are these things that we just think about over and over and over in our heads, and then we end up in a really dark place, and then we end up going to a hospital, and the doctor tells us there's no hope for us, and we're doomed, and we're going to die. And that is not how it goes. So, you have to really understand that an emotion is. This is going to sound like cheesy, but it's like energy in motion. It's literally energy that's in your body, and it's there, and it's not going to go anywhere if you don't like process it. So what does processing an emotion look like? So I mean, it's, I'll simplify it as much as possible. It's basically like you need to recognize where that emotion is in your body first and foremost. And it can literally feel like anything. It might even feel like a medical episode of some sort. So I'm giving this advice with the assumption that you're medically cleared. There's nothing nefarious going on with your health. And you're not like dying. You've been to your doctor, you've done the tests, you're okay. And maybe they just don't know what's wrong with you, and that is 100% part of like the mind body connection stuff. And so really like feeling into your body and noticing like, oh, I feel like this horrible sensation in my chest or in my stomach. It feels like I'm dropping on a roller coaster, my hands are going numb, like a wave of heat going through my body. Whatever it is, that is literally the emotion. And the key is to actually like sit with it, like let yourself feel it without trying to change it, without trying to do anything about it. Because that, once you finally acknowledge it, because these emotions have had nowhere to go, they're literally like swimming around in your body, they're in this pressure cooker. And like this is why the physical stuff starts to happen, or you snap one day and you get like extremely triggered. So taking it as it comes, and journaling is a really great way to kind of get there, and just not like putting unrealistic expectations on yourself that you're going to overhaul your life overnight and like just change your mindset and like everything's going to be great. Like it just, it's really like you have to look at it like a lifestyle change. Like I tell my clients, look at this like it's hygiene, like you're doing your emotional hygiene for the day. So I tell all my clients, pen, paper, journal out all of the thoughts on your brain onto that paper. Doesn't matter what these thoughts are. Like if they're horrible thoughts that you would never tell anybody because they would get you committed, that is okay. Like just throw them onto the paper because you're going to rip it up after. So as soon as that 20-minute timer goes off and you've journaled things out and thrown your censor and your filter in the garbage, and even if you don't know what to journal about, like just journal about how you don't know what to journal about. Like, I don't know what the point of this is. What is this weird girl on Instagram talking about? This is so stupid. And just sort of like see where that takes you, because it will take you somewhere eventually. And then just kind of keep at it. The timer is going to go off after 20 minutes. If 20 minutes is intimidating, start with 5 minutes, right? Like just starting with something is better than nothing. Rip up the paper after and notice what's happening in your body, right? Because the idea of that is to get you out of your head and into your body, because you can think these thoughts over and over and over and ruminate, and that doesn't solve anything because those thoughts need somewhere to go. So this is why journaling is such a great method of like releasing the thoughts so that you can access the emotion and then release the emotion. And then, yeah, like once you're done journaling, just notice if anything's happening in your body and just acknowledge it and just let it be there. Invite it in with open arms, which sounds so counterintuitive. Literally tell the emotion you can be here for as long as you need to be here. And it's going to go away within seconds. Like it takes 90 seconds for an emotion to process in your body, but you have to, like, the trick is you have to accept it. And so that acceptance piece may take a while to get there, but it you will eventually get there. If you need guidance, that's an option as well. But you can definitely do this on your own, baby steps, one day at a time. Don't do too much of it because you're going to re-traumatize yourself. Like don't do journaling more than twice a day. And yeah, like that's pretty much in a nutshell what you want to do to start processing stuff.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And like I've done it myself many times. And I always say to my clients also, like, just let the pen do the work. You get the paper, you get the pen, your journal, whatever, and you just let the pen do the work. Whatever's coming out of your mind, your hand's gonna just start writing, get it all out, and you just feel yourself be unloaded. And oh my God, it makes such an impact. And people say, but it's just writing on a piece of paper. No, it's so much more than that. So yeah, if anyone hasn't tried it, just journal, because again, when I was going through depression, as soon as I just started to journal, which just was a thought in my mind, I just felt like I needed to write things down. No doctor ever told me to journal or to write my thoughts down. as soon as I done it, it just felt like 10 ton had been lifted off my shoulders. It was unbelievable.
Amazing.
So second question, Adriana, is what is the worst piece of advice you have ever received and acted on, and what was the result?
Pretend that everything's okay. Just give your mother the benefit of the doubt. Give her another chance. And the result was the cycle of abuse just repeating itself over and over again, and my health just declining even more. And, it just, it's like really like just putting your head up your ass and pretending that like the problem isn't there is like not a great strategy.
No, like many of us, we get told to like just sweep it under the carpet sort of thing. But I wrote this actually in a part of my book. I say like when you're sweeping the shit under the carpet, all it's going to do is make the job worse when you actually are forced to clear the shit up. Like for me, when I was forced to clear my shit up or to face my problems after seeing my ex in that restaurant with another guy, I was forced to leave my house. And the pile of shit that I had to clear up after was huge. If I would have just swept it away to begin with, it would have been fine. But now I let it build and build and build. And then the job at the end of it was just horrendous. So yeah, definitely don't tell people to just ignore your problems, because there's a huge difference between facing your issues and avoiding them. And avoidance is going to play such a horrendous part of your life in the end. Like it's going to lead on to much worse things in the future. So never avoid your issues. Always face them. It's going to be difficult in the moment, but it's going to be so much better in the long run. So yeah, brilliant tips there. So the next question is, what was one of the main things that you had to unlearn whilst growing up?
Oh man, like everything. Like I was just like a giant walking trauma response. That's what I realized like once I kind of embarked on this healing journey. And I'm still a work in progress. I don't think there's ever really like an end goal to healing. It just becomes part of your lifestyle. And yeah, I mean just really unlearning all of the false beliefs that like my mother just really programmed into me is was like the the biggest thing, because like I just always believed like I was a failure, I was going to amount to nothing in life, I was nobody, all that kind of stuff, all that self-defeating stuff. And like just really unlearning that was it was a quite the wild ride.
Yeah, like I'm such a big believer in about learning new things, but I'm an even bigger believer in unlearning the shit that we get taught growing up through, say, family, friends, society, etc. Like all these beliefs and truths that we get forced upon us and forced to accept are the truth, and they're really not. But it first takes the awareness of saying, how is this supporting me becoming the best version of myself and getting closer to the desired destination that I want for myself and not what everyone else wants for me? So you need to sort of doubt your doubts or even question the things that you believe in your life, because we've been programmed since the age of, well, zero, since growing up, whether it's through TV, through people speaking to us, telling us what we should do. So yeah, such a powerful thing to unlearn all of that crap that we've been taught whilst growing up. So I want to lead on to the next question now, which is, what is the greatest thing, or what is the greatest lesson that you learned from your most painful life experience?
That pain actually has a message for us. For real, like when your body is in pain or having like just all these crazy symptoms, there's a much deeper meaning to it. Like there is an emotional reason for it. And like, it's gonna sound cheesy, but like pain was like my biggest teacher.
Yeah, I mean, like it's so true, and I believe like pain is a messenger.
Yeah.
I always say, like, imagine putting your hand on a frying pan. Like that pain is going to show up as a physical sensation. It's going to fucking burn your hand, and it's going to really, really hurt. But then if you're feeling pain in any area of your life, whether it's in your mind, in your body, in your relationships, whatever it is, if you're feeling that it's painful, that is the message trying to tell you that you need to be aware of this, to observe the warning signals, and then to make changes to move away from that pain. Because if you don't, it's just going to build and build and build. And then you're just going to convince yourself that this is normal. And then you're going to almost become immune to the pain. But at one point, it's going to be like a truck just fucking taking you out, and it's going to wipe you clean out. And then you're going to have no decision to actually make the change in that moment, because you've got no other decisions at all. So yeah, listen to yourself and listen to the pain in your life. 100%. And this is talking through my own experience too. So Adriana, final question I say, but knowing what you know now, what is the one piece of advice that you could give to your younger self?
Ooh, that's a good one. Trust yourself, right? Because it's like I was just so conditioned to not trust myself. And like in hindsight, obviously, like my intuition was on point. It was absolutely correct. But I had to ignore it in order to survive. And I continued ignoring it throughout my life because I just thought I couldn't trust myself. I thought like, I was gaslighted so much into believing that like I couldn't trust my memory, I couldn't trust my thoughts, I couldn't trust myself. And so, if at least even one person had just given me permission, so to speak, to trust myself and trust my inner dialogue and trust what I was actually perceiving and thinking, things would have been a lot easier, I think.
Yeah, again, like you just talk to my soul again. Just by me, I'd never in that relationship. Wow, I didn't trust myself. I lost complete trust in myself. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I believed in. I didn't know what was right, what was wrong. I was constantly being told you're wrong. Again, like the memory you just mentioned, like because of my brain injury, my ex used to always say to me, "You can't speak, you can't remember, you can't think, you can't this." And I used to think, no, I can't speak properly. No, I can't think properly. No, I can't remember this. Oh yeah, maybe it is me forgetting that I'd done this bad thing that time when I really didn't do those things.
Wow.
And shit the bed, looking back, like this was a daily basis. And I just accepted that to be real. And I just believed that I was the wrong one. I was the one that was forgetting. I was the one that had the bad memory. And like you need to trust your intuition because I'll ask anyone that's listening to this now, like when was the last time that your gut feeling or your intuition was wrong? Because every time that I try and remember one time that it was wrong, I cannot remember one time that my intuition led me down the wrong path in life. Like your intuition it's always going to guide you. It's like your life's compass. It's going to guide you in the right direction. Like your gut knows what your brain hasn't already figured out yet. Like the brain's a fucking bullshit. The brain is the biggest liar going. The brain just wants to keep you safe and alive at all times. It doesn't care about your quality of life, your happiness, nothing. So you need to just sometimes say, shut the fuck up to your brain and listen to your intuition, listen to your gut feelings, because the brain body connection is true. Like I was listening to a podcast again for like the 10th time yesterday on this brain gut connection, and it's been proven like there is a big connection between your brain here and your gut, and they say your gut is your second brain because when you get those butterfly feelings, those rumbly stomachs, when you know something's not quite right with someone or a situation, that is the connection working as it should, and it's telling you be aware of this situation because something isn't quite right. So never ignore those warning signals or those gut feelings for sure. So yeah, very, very wise words. And I totally agree with you, my friend. So Adriana, thank you so much. And before we go, I've started to do this and it's a bonus question, which I haven't told you about. So I want to tell you this bonus question and I want to hear about your answer for this one. So the bonus question is, what is the best thing about being Adriana?
Oh my God. Um, That's an interesting question. I guess like the best thing about being Adriana right now today is that I actually get to help people to actually like heal from narcissistic abuse.
Yeah, wow, and like you've managed to flip your mess into your message. Your pain to your purpose, and it's the same for anyone. Like people out there saying, like, I don't know what my purpose is. For instance, like if you've been through shit in your life and you've got through to the other side, like me, you, like many people around the world, they weren't always the coach. They weren't always the go-to person, the person that people say look up to, for instance. They were in that shitty situation as well. So if you're currently going through the shit, don't stop. Like Winston Churchill said, if you're going through hell, keep going because you're going to come out the other side eventually, and you can then use that that wisdom, that knowledge, that experience that you had to then help other people as well. And when you do this, this is the biggest feeling of meaning, purpose, and fulfillment in one's life as well. So, yeah, I can see like you've got through a lot of shit in your life as well, and now you're using it to your benefit and to help inspire the world, to help people get through the challenges in their life as well. So, I just want to say congratulations for getting through that challenging few decades of your life. And yeah, it must have been so challenging, but you're here today and you're sharing your message with people, and you're obviously inspiring people on such a great scale as well. So Adriana, I just want to say thank you so much for doing what you're doing and for being here today and sharing your amazing message with me and the people that are going to listen back to this. Thank you so much. And before we do go, what's the best way for people to connect with you, to hear more about you and your journey, and yeah, to connect you on a deeper level, to find out a bit more about what you do?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And if anyone wants to find me, I'm right here on Instagram at Let's Get Your Shift Together, all one word, that's shift with an F. Same username on TikTok, Threads. I barely use it anymore, but I'm there too. YouTube, pretty much whatever social media is out there, that is my username that you can find me on. And yeah, any ways that you want to work with me, all of the info is at the link in my bio.
Amazing. Adriana, thanks again, and I really do appreciate you for being here, and everybody else that's listened today and who will listen. Thank you so much, and we're going to see you all on the next live. So thank you, people, and bye bye.
Bye. Thanks for having me.